Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone.
There's a whole group of people walking around right now who can remember the sound of a modem connecting and also remember scrolling TikTok on their lunch break. Psychologists genuinely don't know where to file them. If you were born somewhere between 1977 and 1985, you're too young to be a full Gen Xer, but you're not a millennial either, no matter how many quizzes online try to force you into that box. Around 2013, researchers finally gave this in-between group a name, Xennials. Some call it a microgeneration because the window is so narrow, so specific, so easy to miss if you're not looking for it. And once you actually stop and look at it, what you find is fascinating. So today, we're going to sit with what makes this group so psychologically unique. Let's begin. Picture this. You're 11 years old, lying on your bedroom floor, phone cords stretched from the kitchen wall because that was the only phone in the house. You had to actually memorize your best friend's number. If you missed the one airing of your favorite show on a Thursday night, it was gone. No rewind, no search bar. You just missed it, and that was allowed to be true. Then, almost overnight, right as you were stepping into adulthood, the ground shifted. Not slowly, not gently. All at once, most generations live their whole lives inside one version of the world, one set of rules, one relationship to technology. But Xennials lived through two completely different worlds during the exact years when your identity was still being written. Who you were at 17 and who you were at 25 weren't just different ages, they were practically different eras. Think about what that actually did to your everyday life. Remember writing folded notes in class and passing them under desks? Remember conversations that just existed in the moment and then disappeared? No transcript, no proof they ever happened? Remember telling a friend, "Meet me at the fountain at 4," with no way to say running late, no way to say "Where are you?" You just went. You trusted it would work out, or it wouldn't. And either way, you learned to live with that uncertainty. Then you hit your 20s, and suddenly everyone had a flip phone. You made a Hotmail account, you joined Friendster, then MySpace, then this new thing called Facebook. Before that, if someone wanted to reach you, they had maybe two options: call your house or show up. That was it. And then, almost without warning, you had a dozen different apps pinging you at once, and somehow, you figured it out. Here's where the science gets interesting. Neuroscientists studying brain development have found that the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for adapting to new situations and mastering complex skills, doesn't fully mature until close to age 25. Research published in the journal Nature Neuroscience confirms this region keeps developing well into young adulthood, which means Xennials were still inside that window of high neuroplasticity exactly when the entire technological world got rebuilt from scratch. Young enough that adapting felt almost natural. Old enough to still remember, clearly, vividly, what life was like before. Compare that to Gen X, who became adults before any of this existed, and who often carry a quiet wariness toward technology because of it. Or compare it to younger millennials and Gen Z, who have never once known a world without the internet in their pocket. But if you're a Xennial, you hold both realities inside you at once. That creates something psychologists describe almost like a kind of fluency, a rare bilingualism between two completely different ways of living. You can sit across from someone at dinner and never once glance at your phone, but you also don't panic when a new app update rearranges everything overnight. You remember what it felt like to be truly unreachable for an entire afternoon, an experience most people under 30 have simply never had. And yet you're not intimidated by new technology the way some older generations understandably are. This shows up in places you might not expect. Take your relationship with privacy. You grew up in a world where your most embarrassing moments simply faded. That haircut you got before your cousin's wedding, that breakup in the school parking lot, that one party nobody should ever bring up again. There's no photo. No video, no permanent record sitting on a server somewhere. It just lives on as a story, one that gets a little softer, a little different every time it's retold. That creates a completely different relationship with your own past. Your memories were allowed to shift, to become stories instead of documents. Nothing trapped you in permanent evidence. Researchers who study autobiographical memory have found that our brains are actually built to work this way. We're wired to edit, to keep what still matters, and let the rest quietly fade. Memory was never meant to be a permanent archive. But now, when everything is recorded, tagged, and searchable forever, that natural editing process gets complicated in ways we're only beginning to understand. But here's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. Right as many Xennials were stepping into the job market, a lot of them walked straight into the 2008 global financial crash. Just as you were supposed to be building your career, your savings, your sense of financial stability, the floor gave out. And the timing of that matters far more than most people realize. Research on economic hardship shows that financial trauma experienced during this exact developmental window can leave a lasting imprint. People who go through job loss or serious instability during their 20s often carry that fear forward long after their circumstances actually improve. It shapes how you think about money, about risk, about what safe even means, in ways that don't just quietly disappear. So think about what that combination actually created. A generation that learned to adapt to massive, sweeping technological change and also got financially burned at the exact moment you were trying to build something stable. You know how to navigate chaos because you were forced to. But underneath a lot of your decisions, there might be this quiet hum of what if it all falls apart again? And almost nobody talks about that combination. The cultural conversation loves to pit Gen X against Millennials as if everyone born between 1965 and 2000 had the same childhood. But the specific years someone was born in, especially during a period of rapid change, create an entirely different lived experience. One that doesn't fit neatly into either box. Xennials sit inside a paradox that's honestly pretty rare. You carry the self-sufficiency and healthy skepticism of Gen X because you grew up before helicopter parenting became the norm. Your parents genuinely didn't know exactly where you were for hours at a time. And that was just Tuesday. You learned to solve your own problems, entertain yourself, sit with boredom without an adult swooping in to fix it. And yet you also came of age during the early internet, back when the whole promise was that technology would connect everyone, solve everything, before we collectively realized it might also be making some things a lot more complicated. It's a strange place to stand. Independent, but collaborative. Skeptical, but hopeful. Rooted in analog, but fluent in digital. What seems to define this generation most is the ability to hold contradictions without needing to resolve them. You remember both the before and the after, which means you can actually see clearly what was gained and what was quietly lost along the way. Maybe you're not nostalgic for the past in the same aching way Gen X sometimes is, because you genuinely appreciate what today's world makes possible. But unlike a lot of younger generations, you still know exactly what we traded away to get here. You lost the ability to be alone with your own thoughts without it taking real effort. You lost the kind of patience that only comes from waiting, actually waiting for something. You lost a certain quality of presence, the kind that existed before there was always something else quietly competing for your attention. But you also gained connection, information, possibilities your younger self never could have imagined sitting on that bedroom floor with the phone cord stretched across the hallway. If you're a Xennial, you've probably felt like you don't fully belong anywhere. Too young for some rooms, too old for others, caught in the middle. But hear this clearly, that's not a flaw in you. That is the defining gift of your entire generation's experience. In a world that keeps changing faster than anyone can predict, having already lived through one complete transformation might be one of the most valuable things a person can carry. You've already practiced becoming someone new while still holding on to who you were. And that is worth everything. If any part of this felt like I was describing your own life, I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe and stay close. This channel exists because people like you show up. And if you want to help me keep creating content like this, becoming a channel member means more to me than you probably know. I have more videos waiting for you, different topics, but the same depth, the same honesty. I'll see you in the next one. I am reclaiming my peace.